I call the December 2022 board meeting to order. Secretary, please call the roll.
Director Carr,
Present.
Director Garcia, I just
Pres-
heard her. I want to make sure that her microphone.
Present.
There we go. Director Gopal Gandhi,
Present.
Director Herndon,
Present.
Director Leonard,
Present.
Director O'Halloran,
Present.
Director Simpson,
Present.
Vice President Taylor,
In attendance.
and President Peterson.
Present.
We have 9 board members present.
I'll now ask the secretary to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Members, please mute your devices.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will now read our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that Milwaukee lies on traditional Menominee, Potawatomi, and Ho-Chunk homeland along the southwest shores of Lake Michigan, part of North America's largest system of freshwater lakes. On this site, the Milwaukee, Menominee, and Connecticut rivers meet, and the people of Wisconsin's Menominee, Ojibwe, Ho-Chunk, Oneida, and Mohican sovereign nations remain present to this day. Pursuant to Rule 1.06, this meeting is being conducted virtually. Board members may be participating in person from the Central Services Building. In order to allow as much public access and participation as possible, this meeting is being broadcast via live stream on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube stream, the links to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas noches. Esta junta escolar se transmitirá en español para aquellas personas que lo requieran. Si usted quisiera acceder a esta junta escolar en español, por favor, marquen el teléfono 312-626-6799 y pongan el número de identificación de la junta, 608-130-5362. Repito, para acceder a la junta escolar en español, marque el teléfono 312-626-6799 y ponga el número de identificación de la junta, 608-130-5362. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Before we move to our agenda, I will ask that we share in a moment of silence to commemorate the passing of the following members of the MPS community. Robin Baker, a retired building service helper from Bradley Tech High School. Chavez Collins, a student at Marshall High School. Charmaine E. Denoyer, a retired teacher from Bayview High School. Julia Dean, a retired assistant principal from Mitchell School. Janice Ferguson, retired secretary from the Department of Curriculum Instruction. Caden Foster, a student at Rufus King High School. Richard Huerta, a retired boiler attendant from Wedgwood Park School. Johnson Hunter, a retired teacher from South Division High School. Farrell Jefferson, a student at Stewart Elementary School. Jean Johnson, a retired paraprofessional from Northwest Secondary School. Lissy Johnson, a retired general education assistant from Lloyd Barbie Montessori School. Maria Kremer, a retired teacher, River West Elementary School. Zion Schleck, a retired principal from Burdick School. And Leon Seifelt, a retired material handler from the district mailroom. And Ashton Tatum Ward, a student at Kluge School. And I'm sorry, I missed a couple. Kalia King McGee, a student at Allen Field Elementary School. Kei Viwang Love, a student at Rufus King High School. Eunice Moore, a retired general education assistant at Lancaster Elementary School. And I believe that is all. A moment of silence, please.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
They won't let me put my hand up. President Peterson.
Yes,
All right. I would just like to add on to Barbara Miller. She was a longtime sub with NPS as well. So
thank you very much.
Mr. President,
Yes,
just for the accuracy in the record, Mr. Robert Schleck, a retired principal from Burdick School.
thank you very much. Pursuant to Board Rule 1.30 and due to inclement weather conditions, this meeting is being conducted virtually. The Central Services Building is closed to the public and board members are participating remotely. In order to allow as much public access as possible, this meeting is being broadcast on radio stations WYMS 88.9 FM and is live streamed on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube stream, the links of which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. Each month, the Milwaukee Board of School Directors accept public input, both at the committee meetings and through correspondence submitted to the Office of Board Governance. As this is the regular monthly meeting of the board, however, in accordance with board rules, the board will not be taking any public testimony on any items during tonight's meeting. Just as a reminder, Robert's Rules of Order dictates that all comments should be directed to the chair of the committee. Also, any questions or requests from the public, committee members, or the administration are to be directed toward the chair, who will determine the best way to deal with those issues. And let's see. Also, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting the meetings, agendas, and minutes page on the MPS website and choosing online agendas. Now let us begin. Madam Secretary, what is our first item of business?
The first item on tonight's agenda is the action on the minutes of the October and November 2022 special and regular meetings of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors.
Do any members of the board have corrections for the minutes of the October or November 2022? If there are no objections, corrections, the minutes are approved as presented.
So noted.
Madam Secretary, are there any reports or communications from the superintendent?
Yes, Mr. President. We do have one communication from the superintendent, and that is the monthly report with possible action from the superintendent of schools. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would the administration please present the report?
Good evening, President Peterson and members of the board. Keith Posley, Superintendent of Schools. This month's report highlights some of the exciting events that took place around the district and including a reminder of events to come. On December 1st, students from Hamilton High School, Gwen T. Jackson School, Milwaukee High School of the Arts, and Milwaukee School of Languages participated in the district's 6th annual Day of Code. Our students showed off their technology skills and presentations to kick off the National Computer Science Week. Please visit the district's website to view each session presented by our students. On December 15th, a ribbon cutting ceremony was held at Longfellow School, where we celebrated the opening of our second Verizon Innovation Lab. The opening of this lab reflects our continued efforts to support staff and students with access to modern equipment and technology with hands-on experiences, better preparing them for future opportunities. This year, Battle of the Drumlines competition was fierce with a narrow win of less than 1 point difference. We congratulate Rufus King High School as this year's Battle of the Drumline champions. And we salute their competitors for all of their hard work and showmanship in a tough competition. It is the time of the year to start planning for our kindergarten enrollment fair, taking place on February 4th of 2023. Children that will be 3, 4, and 5 years of age by September 1 of 2023 are eligible for enrollment. Now is the time to inform parents, families, friends, and people we meet about our kindergarten enrollment fair. I would like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a wonderful holiday season and joy for the new year. As always, a copy of my detailed reports is attached, including links to access these events. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any board member wish to make any comment? Director Leonard.
Just want to comment on our music program at MPS. The drumline competition was very impressive, very well run, and just a very clear example of how strong our music program is. Just my hats off to congratulations to all of those that participated, all the competitors, and our music department leadership. So thank you. Keep up the great work.
Thank you for saying that, Director Leonard. Director Garcia.
Yes, similarly, I wanted to comment on just once again passing down my congratulations to the team involved with the launch of our second innovative lab through Verizon. Just seeing the enthusiasm of the students there, of the teaching community that has been involved with this. It is one of those examples that really brings forth the power of intentional community partnerships to really support what futuristic oriented approaches to learning can be. And for folks who are able to go and visit, I highly recommend the immersive experience of swimming with the shark. So thank you, Longfellow community, for all of that you do every day, beyond just the launch of this site. So thank you to all the team. And it was a great community building event and I'm excited for what is to come from that.
Thank you. Any other comment from board members? Okay, Madam Secretary, are there any reports or communications from the Office of Board Governance?
Yes, Mr. President, we have our monthly report with possible action on the legislative affairs affecting Milwaukee Public Schools. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Would the Office of Board Governance please present this report?
Yes, Mr. President, Mr. Thiel is on the platform and will give this monthly report.
Thank you. Mr. Thiel, go ahead.
Good evening, members of the board, President Peterson, Chris Thiel, Office of Governmental Relations. Just following up on a couple of topics we discussed during the November meeting. At that meeting, we mentioned that the state would be getting the November report, which is the latest kind of financial status update of the state budget. That report did in fact come in, and as I think many of us have seen in the media and other reporting, the state has actually accrued further funds. We were talking about a $4.3 billion surplus, and at this point, the state has $6.6 billion of an available balance, along with a $1.7 billion rainy day fund. So all told, The state is entering the budget process at this time with $8.3 billion on hand. We may see that number go higher. The next financial update that we receive will be from the state's Legislative Fiscal Bureau. They provide a forecast that informs kind of the governor's final production of his budget, and kind of sets the stage for the budget negotiations that will go on between roughly mid-January, when that budget comes out, into June. We also expect the governor then to introduce his budget on February 15th, I believe it is. That will be the executive budget. And as we've discussed in the past, the Legislative Fiscal Bureau takes a couple of weeks to go through the governor's document and then present it to the state's Joint Finance Committee, which will then proceed in the months ahead with the budget work. So we have 8.3 billion now. And with the trajectory of tax collections, we could see a number go higher. Many people have also been discussing whether or not a recession is on the horizon. We've heard talk of that in the past. That's actually quieted down to some extent. And if there is some financial turbulence out there, again, we have a $1.7 billion rainy day fund. So we are entering a budget season like no other that I've seen, certainly like no other in the last 20 years, where we have the funds available to do any number of things across policies across the state, but certainly allows us to support what we need for students. The recent conversations have progressed. Again, the state superintendent put her budget out when there was 4.3 billion. Now there's 6.6 billion. I don't think it takes much of a leap, but I am making an assumption here that if the Department of Public Construction had knowledge of that $6.6 billion amount, they would have done some additional things. So at this point, we and some of our advocacy partners are talking about moving up the timeline for support for students with disabilities. The state superintendent talked about a timeline to get us to 90% over 4 years. And now with the available funds, people are discussing moving to a 60% reimbursement rate in the first year of the biennium and 90% in the second year. We are, as we have discussed many times in the past, at a historically low level of roughly 30% reimbursement rate, and private schools are afforded that 90% reimbursement rate for students with disabilities. So we're asking for a level of fairness there. I also mentioned, or we also discussed, just based on inflationary calculations, that the per pupil amount needed to catch us up from 2 years of zero over the last 2 years, and then looking forward, you'd probably need roughly $1,400 per pupil just to get us back on pace over this $1,400 or 4-year period. I think that's a conservative estimate. I think as different districts are doing calculations now, and we get a better sense of what the inflationary future looks like, more people are talking about a $1,500 per pupil over this biennium. And again, in order simply to keep pace with inflation, Mequon actually has demonstrated some significant leadership. Their board has put out a proposal asking for $1,566 over the biennium, simply based on the calculations they're doing for projected salary and what current law asks for. So that discussion's ongoing. And again, if we see additional revenue in January across the board, we know it's not simply per pupil and not simply funding for students with disabilities, but additional needs are out there. So we will continue to advocate on that front. And then the final thing, we discussed in November, the fact that between the time school boards set their levies and when the tax bills go out to citizens, there is this moment that occurs in our state process where municipalities receive what's called the school levy credit. So you as a board have set a levy as you're obligated to do under law, but we have this quirk where we present to the public a number, which is a factual number, of the amount that is levied. But we also then have something called the school levy tax credit, which significantly reduces the amount of tax related to the local school district. So in the case of MPS, and as you can see in the attachment of the report, the district set a levy of $320 million, but that number should be lowered by roughly 51.6 million. That's the amount of school levy tax credit that comes in. In addition, if you received I'm now holding up what people would have received in their property tax bill, the comptroller's report and the report that we put out about the levy related to the Milwaukee Parental Choice Program. The Milwaukee Parental Choice Program related levy is around $11 million. So if you take the school levy tax credit, you take the amount that we need to levy for the voucher program, those two items together reduce the MPS related levy by $63.1 million. So that instead of showing 320 million on your tax bill, there is a world where we could do this and it would show $257 million on your tax bill. So again, just wanted to follow up with that clarification from last week. Happy to answer any questions if you may have them.
Thank you. Any comments from board members? Okay, the only comment I'll make is that that what Mr. Thiel described in terms of the notice on our tax levy of Milwaukee took many years to obtain. Some of us were involved in demanding that the impact of this school voucher program be explicit, and ultimately that was put onto the into the tax information, but it wasn't there from the beginning for many years. Let's see, Office of Board Governance, what's your next item on the agenda?
The next item on the agenda is the monthly report with possible action from the Office of Accountability and Efficiency. This is an informational item, and although it has been noticed for possible action, no action is required.
Thank you. Matt Chasen, could you please talk to us?
Thank you, Chair Peterson, Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. As the inclement weather, I think, invites brevity, I'm going to lean into that, simply say that that report is attached. Happy to answer any questions you might have, and happy holidays to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the board wish to make any comment? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, what is our next item of business?
Mr. Chair, before we move to the next item, I believe that there is a correction that will need to be made from the superintendent's conference room relative to the monthly report of the superintendent. Dr. Posley?
And members of the board, in my comments, I made a statement that it was our 6th annual Day of Code. It's the 5th annual Day of Code, and that is printed in the text. Thank you. Just want that clarification.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let us move forward. Madam Secretary.
The next item on the agenda is the report of the independent hearing officers of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors, and that is the student expulsion item.
The chair will entertain a motion to accept, modify, or reject the reports of the independent hearing officers of the dates and times listed in our agenda. Could I see somebody make a motion? Director Herndon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we accept the report of the independent hearing officers.
Thank you. I need a second. Second, Director Garcia. Thank you very much. Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Herndon's motion to accept the reports of the independent hearing officers of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors, seconded by Director Garcia. Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Garcia?
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi?
Aye.
Director Herndon?
Aye.
Director Leonard?
Aye.
Director O'Halloran?
Aye.
Director Simpson?
Aye.
Vice President Taylor?
Aye.
And President Peterson?
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
We'll now have the reports of the standing committees. Since the public hearing was given at committee meetings, the board, as is customary, will not be given public hearing on these reports this evening. Madam Secretary, what is the first report?
The first report is that of the Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel. And item number 3 of that report, action on recommended administrative appointments, promotions, reassignments, and reclassifications, salary increases and decreases, and limited term employment contracts exceeding 60 days has been set aside as it has been forwarded to the board without recommendation. In addition, item number 5, action on a request to approve the proposed 22-23 school calendars has been set aside as it was also forwarded to the board without recommendation.
Do any board members wish to any additional items be set aside? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, what's the next report?
The next report is that of the Committee on Parent and Community Engagement. No items of this report have been set aside for separate consideration.
Do any board members wish to set aside any items from that report, from that committee? Excuse me.
Mr. Chair, I believe Mr. Chason is asking to be recognized.
Mr. Chason.
Thank you. I wasn't able to chime in quickly enough. My recollection is that item 15 from AF&P related to action on a resolution regarding school safety was also sent to the board without recommendation, but if my memory has failed me, my apologies.
Madam Secretary, could you please clarify the question?
I will get clarity before the meeting is over, and if that is the case, that item will be considered in accordance.
Thank you, Ron.
But we can continue.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, what is the next report?
The next report is that of the Committee on Student Achievement and School Innovation. No items of this report have been set aside for separate consideration.
Do any board members have items that they would like to set aside from this committee? Okay. Could I get a motion and action for the balance of the reports of the standing committees?
So moved.
Director Taylor has moved that we accept the balance of the reports. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Director Simpson has seconded. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mr. Chair, just for the sake of clarity and being able to address any items that were forwarded to the board without recommendation, the items that would be set aside and considered at this point would be the items as mentioned, and also item 15 from the Accountability and Finance Committee. I didn't want the board to take action to pass that item if it was set aside for separate consideration. So we'll set aside that item to be safe.
Very good.
On the balance of the reports, and I believe that was Vice President Taylor who made the motion.
Correct.
And the second?
Was Director Simpson.
Okay, great. On the motion to approve the balance of the reports outside of the items that have been set aside for separate consideration, Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director O'Halloran.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Vice President Taylor.
Aye.
And President Peterson.
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, what is the next item?
Mr. President, we are now back to the items that were set aside. The first item that was set aside is the report of the Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel. Action on recommended administrative appointments, promotions, reassignments, and reclassifications, the salary increases and decreases, and limited term employment contracts exceeding 60 days. The administration recommended that the board authorize the promotions, reassignments, decreases and increases in salary, and appointments to the classifications indicated in the attachment. And this item was forwarded to the board without recommendation. Subsequent to the meeting of the Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel, the list of administrative appointments has been revised.
Very good. So what is the pleasure of the board with respect to this item?
Mr. Chair.
Yes. Director Carr. Go ahead.
Given that we are in the middle of a compensation study, I don't believe that this board should be approving of any salaries over $150,000. So I move approval, with the exception of the chief of staff position until the study is completed.
Motion has been made. Is that motion acceptable under Robert's Rules of Orders, Madam Secretary?
At this point, the motion has been made and we do not have a second.
Okay, is there a second? Seeing no second, the motion fails. Could I get another motion, Dr. Gokul Gandhi?
I move that we accept the balance of the positions for approval.
Could I get a second for that? Director O'Halloran,
I second.
thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
just for clarity, are we, okay, so the motion is to accept the balance of the appointment item.
that item, yeah.
Are we
Ye-
accepting the entire item or the
Yeah.
balance of the item?
The entire item.
So noted.
Thank you, Director Gokul Gandhi. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Gokul Gandhi's motion to approve item 3, action on recommended administrative appointments, promotions, reassignments, and reclassifications, salary increases and decreases, and limited term employment contract exceeding 60 days. Seconded by Director O'Halloran. On the motion as read, Director Carr,
No.
Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi,
Aye.
Director Herndon,
Aye.
Director Leonard,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Simpson,
Aye.
Vice President Taylor,
Aye.
and President Peterson.
Aye,
That's 8 ayes, 1 no. The motion passes.
thank you. Madam Secretary, what is the next item set aside?
The next item that is set aside is item number 5 from the report of the Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel. Action on a request to approve the proposed 22-23 school calendars. The administration recommended that the board approve the proposed calendars as presented in the attachment, and the committee has forwarded this item to your committee without recommendation. Subsequent to the meeting of the Committee on Accountability, Finance, and Personnel, the proposed calendars have been revised and the revised attachments are uploaded.
Thank you. What is the pleasure of the board with respect to this item?
I'll move approval of the item.
Okay, Director Taylor has moved approval. Could I get a second for that motion? Director Garcia has seconded it. Okay, please state that. I'm sorry, Director.
Second.
Thank you. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. Any comment, questions, or brought by the board members on this item? Director O'Halloran.
Thank you. And I will vote for this tonight, but I do plan on asking for further information before next year when this is brought forward. If we can survey parents, staff members regarding if this is in line with what they actually want and what the costs of having kind of a bifurcated system like this. Just in what the benefits are. I think that this was passed before, well, I know this was passed before I was on the board, and to this day, I know there are still some parents who don't like the system. I know that there are staff members who incur costs if they work in a high school and their child is in elementary school, they incur costs and hassle trying to get daycare for their kids. in those last couple of weeks. And so moving forward, before this is brought forward for review, I would like the board to have more information just to make sure that we're listening to what our community wants and we're reflecting our parents and guardians' needs.
Thank you. Any further comments, other comments? Or if the administration wishes to comment, they're welcome to comment.
President Peterson and members of the board, we will be more than happy to do just that for the upcoming school year and get that information back to the board from the survey. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment? Okay, seeing none, Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
On Director Taylor's motion, seconded by Director Garcia, for approval of item number 5, action on a request to approve the proposed 22-23 school calendars as outlined in the revised attachment to this item. On the motion as read, Director Carr,
Aye.
Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi,
Aye.
Director Herndon,
Aye.
Director Leonard,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Simpson,
Aye.
Vice President Taylor,
Aye.
and President Peterson.
Aye,
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
thank you. Madam Secretary, are there any items of regular business?
Mr. Chair, we do have that one item set aside on the
Oh, the
Safety
15.
Committee
Yes.
in which Mr. Chasen asked for more time to review the contract
Yep.
that was attached to this item. And that is the report and action on Resolution 2223R-6 by Director Carr on a school safety assessment. The administration put forth a recommendation that the board authorize the exception to bid requests as set forth in the attachment to this item and approve the contract.
Okay, and so Mr. Chasen, you wish to make a comment?
Thank you, Chair Peterson, Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. I'm actually going to defer to the administration. I believe they can offer some clarity so that will eliminate some of the ambiguity that exists in the write-up of the item, and I'll be happy to provide some comments after that. Thank you.
Thank you. Superintendent and administration?
President Peterson, members of the board, Janina Domchik, Director of Procurement and Risk Management. Procurement began the RFP process, and in our research of the marketplace, we found that vendors would request building floor plans in order to provide proposals. We believe that this would have been a significant risk to the district to release our floor plans. Therefore, after further review of the marketplace, as well as consultation with the Council of Great City Schools, procurement is bringing forth the exception to bid request for this vendor, as they have been utilized by at least 25% of the Council of Great City Schools, which includes several larger urban school districts in the country. These include Broward County and Atlanta. We also received feedback from these from the schools that utilize this vendor, and they stated that the vendor was very thorough, very accommodating with respect to response to any questions, and thorough in their analysis of the school safety that they provided for these schools. In addition, this vendor was the only vendor that stated they could complete the safety audit of our schools and support buildings in 4 months. Other vendors stated they would require anywhere between 9 and 18 months to complete the school safety audit. Therefore, we are requesting that the board approve our request for the exception to bid process as outlined for you just a moment ago.
Thank you very much. What's the desire of the committee? Matt Chasen, that's my first desire is to hear you. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Peterson, Matt Chasen, Office of Accountability and Efficiency. I just want to thank the administration and the board for extending a little bit more runway for us to complete our review. I think the details that the administration shared here remove the ambiguity that was present in the background. The exemption under delivery date is entirely acceptable under purchasing policy. I simply advise the administration to make sure that the written record of the procurement and its justification is sufficient enough to withstand any future scrutiny. So at this time, I don't see any reason for the board not to consider the item. Thank you.
Thank you. And what's the wish of the board? Director Carr,
I move approval of the item.
do I have a second to Director Carr's, Director Herndon? You're muted.
Second.
Okay. The motion has been made and seconded to support this. Is there any further discussion on the part of the committee, of the board? Seeing none, I'd ask the secretary to take the roll.
On Director Carr's motion, seconded by Director Herndon, to approve the report with possible action on Resolution 2223R-6 by Director Carr on a school safety assessment to approve the administration's recommendation.
Right.
On the motion as read, Director Carr,
Aye.
Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Coco Gandhi,
Aye.
Director Herndon,
Aye.
Director Leonard,
Aye.
Director O'Halloran,
Aye.
Director Simpson,
Aye.
Vice President Taylor,
Aye.
and President Peterson.
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, what's our next item?
The next item on tonight's agenda. Second, please. I don't want to skip any item. Would be our regular items of business, and we have two. The first regular item of business is the report of the board's delegates. The first report is that of the board's delegate to CISA 1.
Director Herndon?
Yes, that has been submitted for your review. I'm willing to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Madam Secretary, what's the next?
The next report is that of the board's delegate to the Head Start Policy Council.
Okay,
That report is before you. I know it's from quite a while ago. I want to assure you that we did have meetings in the month of October and November, and we will catch up with those minutes in the future as soon as possible. Thank you.
thank you. Madam Secretary, next.
The next report is that of the board's delegate to the Library Board.
Director Simpson.
That is me. And yeah, so that report is before you. Just want to acknowledge that funds had been cut from the libraries, and there was a lot of concern about reduction of services, possible closings. I just want to publicly thank the city for restoring those funds to the libraries for this year so that they can remain open and in full service to all of our communities.
Thank you very much. Madam Secretary, what's the next report?
The next report is a report of the board's delegate to the District Advisory Council.
That report is before you. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Just a note that they will be changing their meeting date from January 5th to January 12th because we'll just be getting back into our buildings. And just want to wish all of our parents a safe and happy holiday.
Madam Secretary, what's the next item?
The next item of regular business would be the report of the president of the Milwaukee Board of School Directors.
And that report is before you. If anybody has any questions or comments, please feel to contact me. Madam Secretary, are there any items of unfinished business?
We have no unfinished business this month.
Okay, Madam Secretary, are there any communications for referral to committee?
We have no new business or no communications for referral to committee.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, are there any resolutions for referral to committee?
Yes, Mr. President, we do have one resolution for referral, and that is Resolution 2223R-13 on the establishment of the Food Justice Task Force by Director Leonard and Simpson.
Thank you. That resolution will be referred to the Committee on Student Achievement and School Success. Madam Secretary, what's the next item on our agenda?
The next item on the, Mr. President, that was the last item on tonight's agenda.
Well, there being no further business, this before the board is, and the meeting is adjourned, but I just want to wish everybody a safe and relaxing and happy holidays, and to thank all the staff members of our district for the hard work that they put in educating our children. And of course, thanking the parents and the families of our children as we continue and over halfway through the school year. And hopefully we'll all stay warm and secure for the next couple of weeks as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Oh, wait,
Happy holidays.
Director, wait.
Oh, I'm
Director,
sorry.
Director O'Halloran, we did approve some administrative positions and other positions. Do you want to just say one thing?
I sure do. I just want to thank them for bringing their talents to Milwaukee Public Schools to serve our students, staff, and the community. Thank you so much. Good luck. Go forth and do great things. And happy holidays.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good
night,
night. Happy
all.
holidays.
Good night.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy
Stay
holidays.
warm.
Good night. Happy holidays. Drive safe, those of you who are traveling.
Recording stopped.